Hello, welcome to Caldwell County Today. I'm Paige Counts, Public Information Officer for Caldwell County. Today we're at the Board of Elections looking at election equipment and a simulated election.
We appreciate you being with us this morning. We're so excited about this new adventure, old adventure. We still have equipment that we were able to purchase thanks to our commissioners and our county folks from 2016. And so now we've got this opportunity to upgrade some of our equipment and purchase some new things. This is exciting. The ballot on demand. What a great! I'm gonna let this lovely lady tell you all about it. She can explain what's going to happen, but I think it's going to be a wonderful thing for our county. It's going to be move us into the 21st century, most certainly, and we're very excited about it. Thank you for being here again. Please, there's refreshments. Grab that. When we get through in here, check that out too, or the cage behind Miss Kirby there.
What's the name of that?
It's called, it's called the Easy 3000 Security Card. And in this card, we'll be able to put the DS200, everything pretty much that goes to our precincts. We'll be able to put that in there, keep it locked and secure, and we'll actually be able to transport it, and it'll be much safer getting it to the precincts. And then while it is there, it'll be able to be safe and secure at the facilities where it'll be located. And then actually, it's going to give us more space here at our facility to keep everything together, organized. It's just going to make our lives and our poll workers' lives a lot easier, and to make it more secure too. And what I was going to say, after we finish, if you see this, after Miss Jennifer, this is Jennifer Sparks. She's with us. She's with ES&S. She's been with them now
a year.
Over a year, yeah, a year. But she's been with the state for 20 years as a director. She worked at the state for 5 years. So yeah, we're very thankful to have her in doing this with Donna. We also have Frank Ecclesi with us today. Frank is a programmer at the state. So he'll give his spiel in the other room down the hall. And we're thankful to have our board members here today. We're also thankful to have our commissioners and other guests that are with us from the parties. We're very glad to have you here. This is something we want it to be great for, like I say, for our whole community and our county. Again, thank you for being here. Jennifer, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, so glad to see everyone today, and really happy to be able to show off this system. More and more counties are acquiring the system. It really helps, especially going back to the paper ballots, just managing ballots at early voting. We've all seen how many ballot styles we can have, how many, unaffiliated voters choosing different parties. So sometimes it gets hard to guess how many ballots you need to order. Well, with this system, you just order blank stock. And whenever a voter comes up to check in, it just works like it always has. The voter checks in when the worker hits vote. Then the system knows which ballot style to print for them, and it just prints right there on demand. In North Carolina, we have to write the code at the top. This system takes care of that, so the voters don't see the workers writing on their ballot, so that's a great benefit. It also overlays the precinct. So at the end of the night, when the workers have to sort the ballots into the precincts, it's much easier. It's consistent where it is on the ballot. It's legible. And sometimes they don't, sometimes they forget to write it on there. So this takes care of that as well.
That's a big plus.
Yes, very big plus.
Very big plus.
A very big plus. So I'm going to simulate to you today how this is going to work. This will be something similar to the way it would be set up at a one-stop site. You would have 2 check-ins, and actually these 2 check-ins will actually go to this one printer. So that's really nice. There would be 2 setups at each early voting site, and excuse me. The way that it is set up is if something happens and this printer goes down, you can still use these 2 check-ins, and everything will default to the other printer. So that's a great benefit as well.
And we also, just one thing, we have 2 other ballots on demand that we were purchased earlier. Those we can also use if we need as backup as well. So we have that.
Yeah, and it's really great. Where you see the most cost savings is in a municipality, because we all know municipals are such a low turnout. And when you have ballot on demand, as long as you have the stock to make up for the 100% of voters, you can order a much smaller quantity of pre-printed for election day, because you have this for emergency purposes if you need to print as a backup. And primaries are a really great cost savings, because you know how it is when you order ballots, you don't know how that unaffiliated voter is going to choose. So it's kind of just a big guess. So this takes the guesswork out of it. So it's really nice. So I will demonstrate. All right. So look you up. I hit vote. And then while this is going on, what's really nice, once I hit vote and all this is working in the background, the worker is, there's the ATV that prints, and then you have to sign it and give it back. And then, yeah. And what's also really great about this is there's a small number that's printed at the bottom. So if a voter spoils a ballot, they can bring it back to the table and do a reprint, and it prints the exact same information on it. So normally what would happen is you would have a bunch of ballots behind you. The worker would have to get up and get the ballot and would have to sit here and write the number and the precinct on it. But now all you have to do is just hand the ballot to the voter, and you can see the codes at the top.
That's a custom ballot.
Yep.
Yes. And it has your precinct and your.
It has your
and
precinct
OS
and your
number.
retrievable code.
It's even got stuff printed on the back.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
right, front and back, that's right. Yeah, and that's the great thing about this as well, Jennifer may tell, it actually prints the front and back, and it does it at the same time. Can we do another one?
Yes,
Yeah,
I'll
Gail,
draw-
or Mike, or anyone else who can get,
please
or,
do
yeah.
Go for it.
Go Barbara, go Barbara. And this part, where she was showing the tiny number at the bottom, so we have, we have so many of them that have to form a ballot, you can actually pre-print this ballot for that vote, and that's what that number is. So that's a lot of security, a lot of good things to it.
Just by the blank stock.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
So it's
Include about half.
it will say, it's gonna say.
So pre-printed is about 24 cents. So if this is what, 12 cents?
12 cents. Mhm.
So that normally they're like 24 cents?
Mhm.
Or, yeah.
So you're saving half, wow. That's
Yeah.
great.
Percent about half.
Last half, yes.
Good
The
job,
other-
Barbara.
Yes.
What happens if Randy comes back to vote again?
The software has already showed that she's voted. So if she comes back to vote again, the only option at that point is provisional. So, of course, there's no color printing usually. So really the only cartridge that it uses is the black. They're about $110 a piece, and this will print around 1,200 ballots. Double-sided 14-inch.
You don't need printing.
Oh, no. No. And also, it doesn't have the bottom tray on it, but in the event, because right now, this tray that was on it, it only handles a 14-inch. But there are additional trays that go on the bottom in the event that the ballot goes to a 17 or a 19.
And so we have those as well.
Yeah. So if something happened and
Yeah.
Chad went to a 17-inch, we would just add the bottom
That's
tray
true,
on
that's
it.
true. Hopefully, if that happens,
Yeah, and what's
if we move municipals, Frank would make plans, we may actually have to use those, but we hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, and what's great is when you order the blank stock, if you don't use it for that election, it's good for the next election.
Got you.
Yeah.
And I think that's another safe, be able to save costs too. So
Yeah.
we'll be able to keep that buying bulk for the printer.
Yeah, it's similar to the express vote stock, which you'll see in there. You can order it, and if you don't use it, it's great, you can use it the next time.
Is there any other questions?
Yes.
Did you say security-wise that you could not put a flash drive?
No, because Chad and I discussed the setup before he ordered it. So whenever the order's placed, however that county wants that configured, we go into the hardware management and disable whichever one they're not using.
And the same, Jennifer, you can tell this too, with the electionware, is with the new system, it is the same way. You cannot, and Frank, you can tell more about that, you cannot access it from any other, so it's very secure. So that, we want that to be the case. Yes, sir.
And these things are tanks.
Yeah.
We started in 2013 in Buncombe County, with these. And Buncombe County's now up to 50 printers to use at their 21 stop sites. And they're still using the same ones they bought in 2011, or 2013.
As a matter of fact, on that note, Oki, we still have the same Oki printer that's, I think, has been used here in the county for over.
2006?
Yeah, 2006, exactly. So they are indeed
You're
good
saying
printers.
they're ancient?
Yeah, they're ancient,
A little old.
yeah. Good printers.
But yeah, we're excited to add Caldwell to the mix.
The DS450 for you this morning. This is a high-speed tabulator. What it will allow, and Jennifer will tell you more, but the great thing, what we're excited about, is this machine actually will help when we have recounts. It will actually separate, and Frank, if you may want to give the spiel more than me, but it is a great machine. It's been used, it's not a brand new, this has been used in many of the counties for a long time.
Yeah, definitely.
So it just allows us to be able to sort the ballots at the end also, and we have to do the sort by precinct. And so this will make it much more efficient and easier, and it's just a great, and secure
How
as
have we
well.
done it before?
Before, we had to use the DS200s. We had to separate, well, we still separate, all the ballots are separated. We'd have to run each one through each precinct, and we'd have to have at least 12, in this last election, almost 16 folks that we had to hire to come in and run those 42,000 ballots. And so when you've got recounts, like this last time, we had 2 recounts, and we had to redo, actually, the other election part that we had to go through. That took a lot of time going through the sort. That's a big thing as well. So it helps a
So
lot.
this
with
takes the place
this
of
one.
that.
Exactly. We won't have to have the folks to come in
It
and do
it
that.
also, whenever they have to sort the ballots after the election and read them back into the precinct, the early votes,
Right.
they would have to have however many precincts, 18?
Yeah.
They would have to have 18 more flash drives. This just uses one. This has the ability, you can select your precinct, and so, for example, this is precinct 2. You run precinct 2's ballots, put those up, get precinct 3 out, come select precinct 3, and then it exports the results to one stick, and then it allocates them appropriately.
Yeah, this will be a lot, save a lot of time. And absentees, we can do our absentees, like this last time we had so many, absentees. You can use this machine for that as well. You can use,
So this is 200 ballots. And what's good about this is when you're doing a recount, of course, all these are neat and nice and exactly all the same way. They don't all have to be the same way. They can be in any orientation, and it'll take it. So you don't have to sit there and spend time doing it.
How many are you running? How many ballots are you running?
This is 200. And you can see as it's running, it separates into the different out stacks. This is counted. This has write-ins, and they are counted. And if something happens and it can't read a ballot, it doesn't stop. It'll throw it into this top tray. And write-ins are separated for the purpose because you actually have to look at the ballot to see that write-in and how it allocates.
and the recount, you may tell a little bit about that too. If there's a voodoo on the ballot or something, it actually, it takes about 2 weeks, the more you can look at that.
Yeah.
Sometimes when they mark it, it's a
And it definitely depends on what you're running, how many you can put up here. Absentees are folded, so really only about 25 or 30 at a time, just because they're fluffier, where you have to unfold them, and as many just don't fit in the out stack. This looks great because they're all nice and flat, but for example, during a recount, when you usually get the ballots out of the ballot box, those are flat, so this really helps with the recount.
I'm assuming you can probably get what, 4 or 5 to a DS200 in a minute.
Exactly. Unless, yeah.
So see, if something like this happens, it says multi-feed, so it's stopped, and that's why I kicked those 2 out in the top, because it picked 2 out at the same time. So you just hit OK. And you can put these, since they didn't count, you put them back on top, and you just hit start again.
And what's great as far as our aspect about that is the machine actually does that. If you have someone that does that, we may not know it. But this we would know. You know, if you've got 20 people or something doing it, this is, it's great to be able to have the ability to.
It's also neat too, for some reason, if it does jam, it will tell you on the screen exactly what ballots have counted and which ones have not, so that you know which ones to save and pull out and not count again, and which ones that you need to run again.
And it's really quiet, that's all.
Yeah, the 850 sounds like the Batmobile.
Yeah.
So there you can see, it even tells you in the middle bin there's 144 ballots, and on the bottom bin there's 56 for a total of 200.
Sit closer if you want to, and certainly, please do. Oh, Jay, I'm sorry, I was just gonna say if they want to come back.
Oh, yeah.
Because we want you to.
And now I'm saving, so say you had a stack of ballots here, everything was over to the left. So if I wanted to delete that and start over, I could. For some reason, if you thought you made a mistake. If you know everything's good, I just saved it so it moves everything from the left to the right. So then when you start the next batch, if something happens and you get a bad jam, you don't have to start all the way over. You can just clear out what you're currently working on without messing with what you've already done and what you know is correct.
That's wonderful. Especially when you're dealing with that.
What stops from taking that stack that's already been counted and putting it back through again?
Organization of the people who are running it.
But will that machine count them again and add it to the total again?
Yes, if somebody takes this stack and puts them back up there, it will. So it's really, counties are really good about moving right or left to right, you know, or vice versa. That way, you grab this, you count it, it's done, you put it over here. And then somebody gets it from that one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we would.
But you have more than what,
Exactly.
I was gonna say, and you
Yeah.
definitely would know, because at the end, you know, there's more about, it keeps a count total of all. The total of all.
If you put 200 through the 450, but you only have 100 after.
Exactly.
Something went wrong.
Something.
Yeah.
That's right.
Good.
And at that point, you clear everything out and you start over.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Is there much maintenance to upkeep the machine? I mean, is there?
No. And this is included in preventative maintenance that happens every year. So when the guys come out, the techs come out to service these, they also service the 450.
And gentlemen, I apologize to everyone. This is Kyle and this is Chris. They're with ES&S as well. They came and set up all this for us, and we're very thankful for you guys being here today along with Jennifer and Frank as well.
And what I'm doing here is exporting the results, and you've probably seen, like, nobody can come in and just stick a USB, because where the USB is, there are locks, number one. Number two, if they got to that screen, it asks you for a password before you export the results. This machine, when you turn on, before it boots up, it asks you for a password. So if you don't have access to those, you don't have access to this machine.
Did everybody hear that? I think that's another great thing too, is the security of these machines. Being able, and the same way they'll tell you that about on express roads too.
And these actually has the results for, this is the absentee by mail test. So the results are in here, and I'll give those to Frank, and whenever everything gets done, he'll read those in, and he can show you how they'll display in the software.
So I'll just talk really briefly about this machine, the Express Vote. As Ted was saying, this would replace your auto mark. This is just a ballot marking device. This is not a tabulator. This is made to assist someone with a disability, someone who's unable to mark the ballot, you know, with a pen, the way that we normally would use this device and get assisted either by an audio ballot, or it's got connection. It's got a port where if someone brings paddles, you know, somebody with dexterity issues might use paddles or a sip and puff device. It's got a connection where they could connect those devices so that they'd be able to use this machine. Advantages of this over the AutoMark. This machine uses a USB stick. the same as the DS200 and the 450, so there would be some consistency there, and that you wouldn't have, the compact flash cards that we use with the AutoMark now. There's also some additional security that comes along with that USB stick. Size and weight are a huge advantage with this thing. If there's any poll workers in the room, if you've ever had to deploy an AutoMark, you know that that's kind of a two-person job. It's about a 50-pound machine. It comes in a big, hard carrying case that's a little difficult to transport. This one I can pick up with one hand. It's about 20 pounds. Comes in a soft-sided case that a poll worker can just throw over their shoulder. So it's a whole lot easier to transport than the AutoMark. The other big advantage of this machine is this blank ballot stock that the Express Vote uses. The AutoMark uses our full-face ballot. This is going to use this blank ballot activator card. This blank ballot activator card can be used next election if we don't use it this election. So again, we're getting rid of some waste there in that, when we had the regular ballot, the full-face ballot, if we didn't use that this election, then it got stored for 22 months and then disposed of. With this, we would be able to only use what we need for this election and then save it for the next election if we don't use it. To activate a voting session, the poll worker would insert the ballot activator card into that slot. You can see it's got a little corner cut. It's got a corner cut on the paper, so they know which way to insert that. This machine is actually programmed to be what we call an all poll. So somebody from anywhere in the county could come and vote on this machine. This might be how you would deploy it at like a one-stop site, where you might have anybody showing up from anywhere. The first thing that they'll have to do is select the precinct, and if this was a specific precinct, if this was just precinct 1 and precinct 1 only takes ballot style 1, it would go straight to the ballot. You wouldn't have this selection screen.
I want to make sure on that point, you guys, just so you know, so this would be specific for each precinct on the election day.
Yep. So yeah, if it's just a precinct on election day and there's only one ballot style in that precinct, it goes straight to the ballot style. You skip all of this selection process. If this was a one-stop site where we could have anybody from any precinct vote, the first thing we would do after we inserted the ballot activator card is select the precinct that voter is from. This precinct that I selected only had one ballot style, but if there was multiple ballot styles within that precinct, they would have another selection screen where they could select the appropriate ballot style.
I'm sorry. Can I inject in there? I mean, to just what the point he was saying, so we would actually be, the staff, someone would be doing that for our voters too.
Correct.
We would be selecting it, just to kind of.
Sure, yeah. When they check in the voter, they get the ATV form, which would indicate the appropriate ballot style. The poll worker would insert that piece of paper and choose the ballot style based on what was on the ATV form. These machines are great. Some of our customers actually use these. Mecklenburg County, for instance, has everybody in the county vote on the Express Vote because they came from the Ivotronic environment where it was a touchscreen voting machine before. Touchscreen voting machines have a lot of advantages over paper. I know we're all big proponents of paper. I prefer paper, but touchscreen voting machines have an advantage in that they can give the voter feedback. If I try to overvote, it won't let me. You'll see there that I tried to select, this is a vote for one contest. I tried to select 2 and it switched to my second choice. It didn't let me overvote the way I could do on paper if I was just marking a ballot. It also will alert me if I undervote. So I left that contest completely blank. I tried to go on to the next contest. It says, did you mean to do that? Did you mean to leave that contest blank? So voter feedback is a great feature of this machine. It can let the voter know if they've left something blank or they've undervoted or they've overvoted or they've made some mistake potentially. The other thing that I'll mention about this as far as ADA capabilities is it has functions for Zoom. If maybe I'm not blind, but I just forgot my glasses and need some assistance. The Zoom function just makes the font bigger so that we can read everything. It also has a high contrast function. This is primarily for people with a condition called macular degeneration, that white writing on a black background is just easier for them to see. I'm going to turn both of those functions back off. This demo that we're using here today is a little long. It's meant for the simulated election event, not necessarily for demonstration purposes. But as I scroll through the contest, you'll see I also have the ability to do a write-in. If I choose write-in, it just takes me to a keyboard where I can type in the name of the candidate of my choosing. And it's going to take me a second because this demo is so long to get to the end. I'm just going to scroll through here. When the voting session has completed, we'll get a review screen. On the review screen, we can check all of our choices, make sure the machine recorded our votes the way we intended it to. Let me just get there.
So it's an exact copy of the completed ballot?
I'm sorry?
At the end, it's an exact copy of the completed ballot that comes in?
Yeah, and I'll produce one for you, and you can check it out. It's a what we call a summary. It's a printout of all of the voter selections. Any ballot that comes out of this machine would then need to go through the DS200. Like I said, this is not a tabulator. This is just a marking device. But yes, you would.
Question for individuals that are at the precincts. Are we providing, what depth of help are we giving someone that has visual impairment? Are we walking them through the whole thing?
Most certainly, yeah, and even like with now with the auto mark, if someone does indeed come in and say, I need some help, I can't see, so we direct them to these machines. There's an area specifically for, set up for those, and then the poll worker, the chief judge, someone would actually indeed help them get started, and then pretty much after that, they can just select, but then we'll help him at the end of the process if it's needed. It actually will print, he'll show that to you, print it off, but yeah, we certainly will. And our poll worker, of course, will be trained on this new equipment. I think they're going to love this even more so than the Automark. So it's going to be great to be able to help the voters.
Procedure varies from county to county, but typically I think it would involve checking in the voter,
Yeah.
coming over, inserting the ballot activator card, if it's necessary, selecting the appropriate precinct and ballot style, and then you would,
And it's, there's a
well, if I can get it off the Velcro, you would take,
Yes, good.
you can take this, and this is a bit of an advantage over the Automark too. On the Automark, this keypad was kind of mounted on the machine, so the voter had to situate themselves so that they could access that. With this on a cable, I can just take that and sit it in their lap.
Yeah,
and like I said, typically we check the voter in, activate the ballot for them, give them this, and then walk away and give them their privacy. Speaking of privacy, this keypad, it does have the ability, as you'll see, to turn the screen off. So if I'm somebody with a visual impairment, I don't want somebody looking over my shoulder seeing how I voted, I can turn that screen off completely. The other thing that I'll mention about this keypad is that it does have Braille on it. Studies show that only like 15% of the population, blind population, actually reads Braille. This machine actually starts with some instructions, just like a minute of instructions that it reads to you through the audio. And what it actually does is it references the shapes of the buttons. So it'll tell you, up and down to go through the contest, left and right to go through the candidates. The diamond-shaped button turns off the screen. It references the shapes of the buttons so that if somebody can't read Braille, they can still use this keypad based on, feeling those shapes.
And the majority of our voters so far that we've experienced with Automark is they're just not able to, they can make it larger like you showed you that earlier, that really helps them. And having the hearing, where they can actually hear that too.
Most people who use this, I think primarily would use it for the audio
For the
function.
audio.
But back on this review screen, like I was saying, so here's a breakdown, a summary of all of our contest choices that we made. If we see something that's inaccurate, we don't have to hit the previous button and go all the way back. We can just touch a contest. It'll take us directly back to that contest. We can make any changes that we'd like to make, or if everything looks okay to us, we would just hit the next button until we get to the end. And then we would print the card. The last thing that I'll mention about this, and then maybe we can get into the simulated event, and anybody who wants to come and use this machine is welcome to do that. Anybody who wants to come and use any of these machines is welcome to come kick the tires. But this machine, after it produces the ballot activator card, another function that allows the voter to verify that this shows, recorded the selections that they made. I can put this into any express vote. I can put it into this one or that one or any one anywhere in the county. And it will actually go right back to that review screen so that I can see all of the selections that I made and verify that the machine recorded it correctly. And it's reading all of this through the audio ballot as well. So I can do that whether I have a visual impairment or not. So now it asks me to verify all my selections. If I was worried, did that machine make that selection that I intended to make, I can verify that it did before I actually go put it through a DS200 and count.
When you put it in the DS200, it will print. How do you transform that to get a ballot, a regular size ballot?
You don't get a regular size ballot. This activator card, I'll pass this around. this would actually be the ballot for anybody who voted on an express vote.
And it shows all your selections that you made. That's a great
Yep.
thing, right, Frank, about it. Different from the Albertronics. This machine actually shows you every selection that you made, and it actually is tabulated, as you, he'll show you there at the top of the DS200.
I guess it's reading.
So it does, it will show on the tape, correct, Frank? Whenever that goes through the DS200, when we run the total tapes at the end of the evening, it will show you, Bill, who, you know, for that, not who, but that, the votes for that person, because it's tabulated.
Yep, any votes, you know, one of the great things about that is all of your votes are going to be tabulated here on the DS200. You're going to get one results tape at the end of the night that contains express vote cards and paper ballots. There is what we call a ballot accounting status report, so if you wanted to know, you know, how many express vote cards versus paper ballots should I have, that is something that you could, you know, verify with the report.
The auto marks we got, what, I think 17 years old?
Yes, Billy, yeah.
And we're trading those in on these. What's the estimated lifespan of these machines?
10 to 15 years. You know, it's funny when I talk to people about ES&S supporting their equipment. I tell a story about a little county in Virginia that I had to program Optec Eagles for them for 25 years. They, ES&S will pretty much support equipment as long as you want to keep it. You know, 10 to 15 years is what we say is the lifespan of this, but I've had people keep them longer. You know, not this particular machine, talking more about, you know, the older legacy equipment. But ES&S has a great reputation for, if you want to keep it, we'll keep supporting it.
They really have.
Well, what I was talking about here, we've got probably, this might be one-time federal money. And so by buying these machines, the county commissioners are gonna, we put off their obligation to buy new machines for some time.
Potentially, yes. I would take advantage of that federal money while you can get it, that's for sure.
Certainly, certainly glad.
Any questions about the express vote? Anybody want to come vote on the express vote?
Come on, Fred, don't you want to try?
Let's eliminate having two candidates.
Sorry?
Paige, don't you want to try? Bill, aren't you going to try? Don't you?
Let Paige do it, see?
All right.
This machine would not allow someone to overvote, that's correct. Did anybody else want to see the paper ballot itself?
Hey, we have no takers, Frank.
No takers? So,
But will you, I don't know if that'll script anything or not, would you be able to put that through? Would that?
if Chris will tell me where the precinct 1 machine is. Oh, it's right there. So there is
And that
a,
is a one, that's a one.
there is a guide here on the top of the DS200.
You did select precinct 1, correct?
Yep. And this-
Okay, so good, we can use
Chris
that.
was kind and put it right next to him.
So he's, no, just to clear, yeah, I'm sorry.
So this ballot would go through the DS200, the same tabulator that everybody else is going to use. There's a little guide at the top here to show where to actually insert the express vote card. But that goes to the machine, drops into the ballot box, you know, which is locked and secured, stored with all the other ballots.
And I love with the election wearing, same with the other, how it's so courteous. It says thank you,
Yeah.
you're welcome, yeah, I mean, all those things which I think are important, but yeah, I think that's great. It tells you when it's used.
It says please, it's what.
Several of the improvements that we could talk about related to EBS 5240, the new system that we're talking about, are software related and are firmware related. This graphic that shows people how to insert the ballot into the DS200 is a new addition. You guys have DS200s already, but I don't think it has, you know, this screen. That's a new improvement in this version.
Frank, can you also show them there, and Chris has showed me this earlier, where you can actually see the count? That little button.
The public count?
The public count, yeah. So
Sure.
this is a new option.
And that's actually something that the EAC requires, I think, for, you know, a voting machine to be certified. It's got to show how many voters were processed during the course of the day. It's something that we also use maybe to balance out the poll book and make sure that the poll book thinks we have the same number of voters that the machine does. The public count is how many voters have voted on this machine, and that is displayed on the screen, you know, whenever the machine's on.
So that now we show one on there. The only thing is, Chris had pointed this out to me, I wanted to let you guys know because we want to be very upfront about this, and I know we're going to be asked about it. Underneath that number is another number. Frank, can you explain that a little bit to them as well?
So we were talking about the public count. It displays the public count. The other thing that it displays is the protective count, which is how many ballots it has cast in the lifetime of the machine. That's largely there to help our technicians, you know when a machine needs servicing. We do get some questions about that. You know how, you know, what if people are worried, you know, that the protective count means something's been interfered with. It's just a requirement that that number be.
Thank you, Frank, 'cause I know as commissioners, board members, we'll be asked that, and so it's important that you know that as well. So-
Some people described it to me as the top number was like your trip meter and your bottom is your odometer.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's kind, yeah, that's kind of like a good way to explain it to somebody without getting too technical.
What percentage of the ballot,
Very,
the people use that?
So it depends on the county. Like I was saying, we have some counties, I think it's Davidson, Mecklenburg, and one other,
Jackson, yeah.
that have everyone vote on this machine. So it
So if
depends
you gotta
on.
do a recount, it's not as efficient as this machine over there.
This machine will count those.
Yes.
it does.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that was.
You know, federal law requires that someone with a disability be able to vote independently without assistance, should they, should they want to do that. And this machine makes you compliant with that
But the-
requirement.
but I-
In a county where this is used for ADA compliance, it's probably not used that much. There's maybe one or two people in the county who will use it. We do have counties, like I said, though, that have everyone vote on this machine, primarily people who used to use our electronic voting system, who really like the touchscreen interface, where, absentee ballots and stuff like that would be an exception, but almost 100% of the county would vote.
But I would like to say this, though, with this machine and with talking to other directors in Mecklenburg, especially with our younger population, that machine's going to be used more. I feel sure because of the fact that it is indeed touchscreen. We live on our phones. I mean, that seems more.
One of the things I tell people when I do an express vote training is, if somebody asks to use the express vote, don't ask them, what's wrong with you?
Yeah,
Just let them use the
exactly.
express vote.
Please use it, yeah.
Maybe it's possible that someone's just illiterate and they don't, they can't read the ballot and they want the audio functionality for that purpose. Maybe they don't have a disability, they just, maybe are illiterate. So, what I tell people is, if you're checking on a voter and they say, can I use that?
Yes.
The answer is yes.